Hey everyone, what if I told you that mastering just 5 foundational skills could generate wealth in literally any field? You'd probably think I was crazy, right? I mean, we've all been sold the exact same childhood myth. Get a good degree, land a safe job, and boom, you're set for life. But let's be real for a second. The real world? Yeah, it definitely doesn't hand out guarantees just because you have a piece of paper. So in today's explainer, we're going to break down the harsh reality of what it actually takes to build lasting wealth step by step.
All right, let's dive right into it. The harsh reality is that 90% of people fail, and here is the absolute kicker. They aren't failing because they're lazy or not working hard. They fail purely because they lack the right directional skills. You know the story. Someone starts a business but has zero clue how to sell. Or they work relentlessly but just can't stay consistent. People launch these huge ideas, they crash and burn, and then they just sit back and blame bad luck. But the reality is crystal clear. The problem isn't luck, it's a lack of skills.
So we're shifting away from this totally outdated pipeline into a modern reality. The old belief tells us that your degree plus your job equals success. But the truth? Skills are the ultimate currency right now. If you've got the right skills, you can literally start from absolute zero and climb all the way to the top, completely regardless of your background. Without them, even $1 million in the bank isn't going to build anything lasting. Degrees, well, they just don't carry the weight they used to.
So how exactly do we acquire this new currency? Well, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to concisely break down these 5 load-bearing pillars of success. First, the real secret to success. Then, connection and sales. Third, finding the right problem. Fourth, consistency and discipline. Fifth, the power of adaptability. And finally, we'll wrap up with your very next step.
All right, let's jump into pillar number 1. The real secret to success? Communication.
Look, you could have the most groundbreaking, revolutionary product on earth, but if you can't communicate it, it means absolutely nothing. A lot of people think communication is just talking, right? Just pushing a product relentlessly. But true communication is really about connection. It's about actually listening to your customers' pain points. Because the business world buys perception, not just logic. If you aren't listening to what they're actually struggling with, you're never going to convince them. You really have to speak their language.
Elon Musk actually sums this up perfectly. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And that hits the nail on the head. Clarity is absolutely your greatest power here. If your message is confusing, people are going to check out immediately. Mastering communication means taking these massive, complex ideas and making them incredibly simple and relatable. It's your body language, your tone, your energy, all of it working together to build trust. So understand first and then speak.
Moving right along to pillar number 2, connection and sales. Because at the end of the day, selling is serving.
Now, here's a hard truth we all have to accept. If you can't sell, you can't become rich, no matter how insanely talented you are. Sales is the engine of literally any business. But we really need to redefine what sales actually is. You got to forget that cheesy stereotype of forcing someone to buy something they don't want. The true meaning of sales is highlighting value. It's looking at a painful problem someone has and providing a genuine, honest solution. People don't buy products, guys. They buy solutions. If they're in pain, they buy medicine. If they want time, they buy convenience. Steve Jobs operated on this brilliant philosophy. He said, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. And that's so true. Your job as a salesperson isn't to push, it's to pull. It's to reveal exactly how your product transforms their life for the better. When you build trust through genuine, honest intent, selling just becomes effortless. It becomes this magnetic pull where people actively come to you.
Okay, let's hit pillar number 3, finding the right problem. Solve to earn. Listen, just chasing random ideas, that's a total trap. Inventing some cool product without asking if it actually solves anything is exactly how businesses fail. Instead, you want to follow a precise framework. First up, observe. Where are people wasting time or getting confused? Second, find the root cause. You've got to dig deep below the surface there. And third, offer a simple solution. Think about absolute giants like Paytm or Amazon. People found payments difficult, so Paytm made it easy. Shopping was a time-consuming chore, so Amazon made it seamless. It's that simple. Identify friction and solve it.
Albert Einstein famously noted that if he had 1 hour to solve a problem, he'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and only 5 minutes on the solution.
Deep observation of a root problem automatically reveals the most valuable solution. Think about it. The bigger the problem you solve, the higher the value, and naturally, the more money follows. Don't be an idea chaser, be a problem solver.
That brings us to pillar number 4, consistency and discipline.
Here is something that might actually surprise you. A lack of talent rarely defeats people. They fail because they lack consistency. I mean, everybody starts with massive motivation on day one, right? But motivation is a fleeting high. It's kind of like a balloon just losing air the second you get stressed. Discipline, on the other hand, is the boring yet completely unstoppable power of laying bricks every single day, even when you aren't in the mood. Success isn't just a one-day event. It's doing the boring work when the excitement fades.
As Elon Musk puts it, work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in the hours every week. If you're aiming for that outsized top 1% success, an average effort just isn't going to cut it. You have to beat out heavy competition, and that requires extraordinary discipline. Discipline is what gives you control over your time and your habits. Sure, talent might get you to the starting line, but relentless consistency, that is what gets you across the finish line.
Now for our final foundational skill, pillar number 5, the power of adaptability. Embrace change. The world, technology, AI, it is all evolving incredibly fast right now. And if you ignore this, you are absolutely going to be left behind. Just look at Netflix versus Blockbuster. It's a classic example. Netflix actively learned, adapted, and pivoted to streaming to become an industry leader. Blockbuster? Well, they remained stubborn. They ignored the shifting market and they literally disappeared. One embraced change, the other ignored it. Adaptability means actively upgrading yourself and learning new tools every single day.
Charles Darwin really hit the nail on the head here when he said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." Continuous upgrading is your ultimate survival tool in the modern economy. If you can develop a mindset of constant learning, you'll never become outdated. The second you stop learning, you're basically finished. But as long as you adapt, you'll always stay ahead of the curve.
All right, let's bring it all together with Section 6, your next step.
So, we've covered communication, sales, problem-solving, consistency, and adaptability. And let me assure you, these aren't just internet buzzwords. They are the absolute foundation of all massive success. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final question. Which skill are you going to learn first? The time for sitting around relying on luck is totally over. It's time to step out of the crowd, make the decision today to start building these foundations, and take your very first step toward the top 1%. Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you next time.